Away with 37-point Lutherans and 40-point Calvinists. Welcome to another episode of Talks with Dad Rod. I am Ted Rosenblatt. This is my father, Dr. Rod Rosenblatt. Dad, what are the essentials of Lutheranism that set Lutheranism apart from other denominations that they would not necessarily consider essential?
Well, overall, it's a question of confessions. We will confess and define ourselves according to the Book of Concord and its exposition of Scripture. The Reformed will define themselves either by the Westminster Confession or what are called the three forms of unity. Here you always want to get your best representatives. And I, without any reserve, would put the late Dr. R.C. Sproul and Dr. Michael Horton in that genuine Reformed camp, and not the PCUSA. Then, to begin with, rather than tackling from page one all of those confessions, many times a graphic is of help. The evangelical publisher Rose Publishing in London has these fold-out color charts and arranging by doctrine and by group. And that's a good way to sort of get the view from 30,000 feet, the overall view. From our camp, as I mentioned in our last episode, we will certainly stand out for our view of baptism and our view of the sacraments. That's for sure. You won't find others, even Roman, where they will in any way adhere to a Lutheran position on those. Most evangelicals don't write confessions or do dogmatics, but you can find them. Probably the best representative that I know of is the late Tom Oden. Tom Oden actually believed Wesleyan, believed the Wesleyan form of Christianity. He's a good one to get a book on what he represents and expositing it. Usually it's very basic things that we wouldn't in a prerequisite way think of. But that's a way to do it in a scholarly version, and to see whether the passages that will always be there for every doctrine, whether you think they're stronger than the passages quoted by another group. There are a lot of things where there's overlap. Any Christian group that affirms what are called the ecumenical creeds, the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Athanasian Creed, that narrows things. But it's a best place to start. Do you affirm those or not? Do you explicitly say yes to those or do you not? There are many of the fringe groups that won't affirm them. But when it's narrowed down to those who will affirm the ecumenical creeds, then it gets difficult, and it's not theoretical. Say you have a child recently born, and the child is growing older, and the question is going to be, between a husband and wife, which church do we go to? Should we have already had him baptized or not? Are we waiting for the unbiblical phrase, age of accountability, or not? But anyway, that will lead you into some degree of researching the basic denominations, and that's a good thing, to see who centers on what we think it centers on. A fundamental question: what do you think the Bible is about? And any Lutheran would say the background promise and then the fulfilling of the promise in the person and work of Christ. Simple, understandable. Others would say no. You'd even find some Christian groups, usually pretty liberal, that would say the Bible's basically about moral improvement.
Virtue.
Virtue. So you're going to get a lot of disagreement or reticence on some of the basic questions. It's worth researching.
And obviously, the best place to go is going to be to go to the documents of different denominations and read up. And they can be long, and that can be tough. I know that one of the throwaways we've had as LCMS Lutherans here is Article 4, and that is justification.
Yep.
Justification by faith alone, based on Christ alone.
Yep.
So these things we kind of throw out there, and it's insider language. One of the things I expect to get, one of the reasons I know we're tackling this and we're hearing about it is that Lutherans have a long history of being insular. So we are not out on street corners. We're not very outgoing. We believe what we believe. And I even had I'd heard somebody in the Baptist faith, when I heard about this Lutheranism, or first hearing of a Lutheran say, is that an offshoot? Is that an offshoot of the Baptists?
Yeah.
We're so hidden that people don't know what we believe.
Pastors years ago used to tell me, we're in the yellow pages, so they know how to find us.
There's no active anything. And it's a sad thing. I think one of the things that's one of the things we're helping to resolve here at 1517 and with productions like this. But we bring good news in things like, we focus on the works of Christ. We aren't focused on our improvement. We aren't focused on the improvement of virtue or morals. And focuses outward instead of inward, and doesn't use myself as a measure and that sort of thing. Those are very rough basics, but those are outward extensions of our viewpoints on the sacraments.
The depth of sin, the person and the work of Christ, baptism and supper.
Well, then answers. There you go. That answers your question.
Emphasis on the right syllable.
So that's the short version. Too long, didn't read. There's the short version of it. There's more to be had on this question. I guarantee it. So we'll try to break this into smaller pieces as we go. But we're out of time today. So I hope you enjoyed this. Visit 1517.org for more, and we will talk to you soon. We hope you liked it. Thank you for joining us on Talks with Dad Rod, part of the 1517 Podcast Network. This podcast and all 1517's content is made possible through financial support by listeners just like you. Please visit 1517.org for more, and please consider clicking on the donate button and making a recurring or one-time contribution to help us share this good news in a world which so desperately needs it.